Welcome to the Creative Brew, helping you keep your creative juices brewing. We're giving out chunks of insight, motivation, and practicality for your creative journey. My next partner is Elevate Coffee Trading, and if you appreciate specialty coffee, enjoy outdoor adventure, and love helping elevate the lives of children around the world, then you're going to love Elevate Coffee Trading. Their mission is to extract hope through love, coffee, and adventures. There's free shipping in the United States, and every bag of coffee helps sponsor health and education for children in coffee-producing countries and in areas of need in the United States. You can use promo code Elevate21 on your next order, and you can follow their journey on social media at Elevate Coffee Trading. Or you can visit online at elevatecoffeetrading.com, and let's start extracting hope together. And this episode is brought to you by Baba Coffee, smuggling good vibes. Baba roasts their coffee beans each week and only offers the freshest coffee. They have espressos, lattes, cappuccinos, pour over, or drip coffee. You can try their cold brew coffee, nitro cold brew, or bulletproof coffee, and boba milk teas. They also have a wide assortment of delicious food. I would suggest you try the avocado toast, mimosas, wine, or beer. On the weekends, you can check out some great music like the Soto Six and food like Eliza the Shelf and others over the weekend, every Friday and Saturday, beginning at 6 p.m. You can check out everything they got going on Facebook and Instagram at Baba Coffee. To a new episode of The Creative Brew, giving you insights on your creative journey. Today we have Ian McEwen. He is the owner and chief consultant of the Truth Quarry, an independent brand consultancy that channels the principles of combat sports and martial arts to enhance business technique, strength, and performance through the power of brand. Like I said, with the show, I love sort of deep diving and really getting to pick the brain of interesting individuals and mainly people that may have common interests. So with this show, I bring on people that they're in the martial arts or they're in the creativity and everything else, and how do you mix it together to make it work. Everybody's creative journey is different, and I on the show I try to bring on interesting characters for our audiences for them to share their story and the ups and downs and seeing how they make it work. So without further ado, Ian, I'll let you share your story and we'll get going.
Awesome. Sounds good to me, man. So yeah, I stumbled across you on, I think it was a Win Wrestling Magazine article.
Yeah.
You wrote. And you touched on some points about brand and illustration. And I was like, oh, this guy we're in the same ballpark. So I reached out, we connected, and here we are. But my story, creatively, lifelong artist, grew up drawing comic books, dream job drawing for Marvel. Hasn't happened yet, but not off the table.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's my go-to. That's my comfort zone is illustration. I went to school up in SUNY Oneonta. Started as a history major, ended up playing rugby, lacerated my kidney, had to medically withdrawal. Yeah, it was pretty brutal. But luckily one of my teammates was a paramedic and was able to, get me where I got to go. No surgery, nothing panned out okay, but 6 months, solid recovery time. And when I went back, I kind of had this epiphany. It's like, look, you got one shot. You never know when your roll of the dice goes. So I've always been passionate about art. Never had any kind of professional drive to pursue it. So like, let me see what I can do with it. So I took it. I kind of fumbled my way through college on it, pursuing graphic design, figure drawing, which was awesome, and typography kind of really got me interested in a whole nother thing I never knew about, in terms of creative design and graphics. After that, I graduated college, struggling to find a job in 07, 08, out of school, middle of the, recession. So I started coaching wrestling. That was one of the things I wanted to pursue. Also, in my time at Oneonta, I got involved in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's just kind of loves for both of them just blended together nicely. Graduated, coach wrestling back in my alma mater high school, and I was there for 7, 8 years, in which I started to contribute whatever creative expertise I could pull out. So t-shirt design, we had this guy who came by and did posters for the team. I was like, oh, that's a really cool premise. Didn't know much about it. He seemed to be doing really well with it. And one year came up where the coach asked if I could draw a poster. And I said, sure. Kicked off. Now I've been doing it for 10 plus years. I've bridged into other programs. Just recently did one for the school's girls lacrosse team. And as professional growing, illustration is a tough gig, especially now with AI. Like it is, you've got to be positioned very strongly, which, I'm sure with martial arts and wrestling, sometimes you gotta accept some truths that you may not want to, and you've got to pivot or adjust or reacclimate and change your angle. So that's what I did, and I started looking into brand development. Originally logo design, things like that, comfort zone tailored to illustration. But I always had this brand strategy thing come up. At this time when I was trying to pursue more information, I stumbled across Chris Doe in the future on YouTube. And I was like, okay, there's a whole nother level to this. So it was a little scary, but I was like, you know what? Just like in wrestling, I'm going to find the best people in the world to do it. I'm going to try to just be around them, learn what I can. And so I just started networking pretty heavily on LinkedIn. I reached out to another podcast host on that I heard of, and he was running a mastermind group. And I was like, hey, can I'm greedy. I don't have much to offer. I want to learn. And they took me in, they let me sit in. I learned a lot. I went into Marty Neumeyer's Level C program for brand development. I mean, this guy wrote the book on modern branding. So I'm like, what a better way to go after it. I learned a lot there. And I've been doing that with the Truth Quarry ever since. So, my offerings from them are positioning and strategy, which is my bread and butter. Followed with naming, which is another strong suit that I have, which I didn't even know was a professional choice up until 5 years. And, identity design. Primarily logos. I work with very limited amount of free time. I still have a 9-to-5 job where I'm a design development supervisor at an automotive OEM supplier. So I got 2 kids at home, a wife, a house. Like it is, you're threading that needle. So I'm very careful about who I work with, what I work on. And, just like any other wrestler where it's like, you got to put the time in. If you don't want to put the time in, nobody's going to be able to help you.
Yeah.
That's the long and short of it. A little bit of everything, a little bit of wrestling background, professional development. And that's where we're here now. So I'm just working to meet new people who are in the same ballpark, and learn together, grow together. As they say, a rising tide raises all ships.
Yep.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I find it odd. Definitely sort of coming from the same background. Coming through school, wrestled in college, and then I was, working on my graphic design major too. And it's so weird because I was like, they don't. Honestly, I wish, and I'm trying to get back more into the educational space now, but they don't tell you like, hey, you can actually use use your sport as a platform. Like you got the skills, you're building up your skills. Like you could actually do, gear yourself towards, the things that you like doing.
Yeah.
They never told me that. They was like, hey, you come out, try to find a internship and then hopefully get a job. And it's like, they don't. And so it's so weird because, I'll go back and I'm talking to a lot of these kids, and there's a huge majority of them that they don't even want to go to college. They just want to do their own thing. They want to be in design, but they was like, hey, I want to just go the freelance route. I want to, get clients and, go from there. So it's weird. I didn't know if your teachers ever told you any, like, help guide you or anything.
It was a weird thing because nobody in my family had ever pursued any type of creative profession. Like my grandmother was an artist, my other grandmother was an artist, which is always really cool. Like when my one grandmother would watch us when we were kids, I'd have my comic cards and comics and stuff, and she could draw those. And I was just like, how do you do that? So I just incessantly just studied and copied and, Jim Lee, Mark Bagley, like the big guys in the late 80s, early 90s. Like I was like, I wanted to do that.
Yeah.
And nobody though knew how to pursue it. They're like, good luck. We believe in you, and we know it's hard, and you always hear the starving artist mentality. So there wasn't a lot of, say, optimism, but that wrestler mentality in me where it's just like, don't stop. Like I told this to the guys that used to coach, especially when they would get hard on themselves or they have an opponent that was tough, where they knew they had a challenge. Look, everyone's got their specialties. You got what you're good at, you got what you're okay with, you know where you need to improve. And those are the same types of people you should be rolling with all the time. Somebody who's going to mop the mat with you, somebody you can go head to head with, somebody you're going to, mop the mat with. And you learn bits and pieces from everything, and you give back accordingly. But I was like, all right, let's just figure out how to do it. And I realized that there's a severe lack in like business awareness.
Yes.
And what makes it a feast or famine kind of mentality. I knew the freelance was tough, but even in college, there weren't teachers who were like, hey, this is what, if you want to do this is what you do. Like I didn't even know brand development was a thing, back in the early 2000s. And it was a thing, but I don't think it was as saturated of a professional market as it is today, where everybody thinks they can do it. So I put down, I went in with what I thought I knew, tried to figure it out. But no, I didn't really have much like, these are the steps you need. And so I stumbled across, Christo in the future and like how that kind of just fragments out. And I started learning all these different things. I was taking a podcast left and right, reading every book I could. I'm like, all right, I think I'm figuring it out. And then I stumbled into strategy, and that's where I was like, oh, this is great. I don't even the need to really pursue all this other stuff. I'd love to pursue this, which is problem solving in a sense, But yeah, to get back to your question, I didn't have much like, hey, this is how you do it. It was like, good luck. We believe in you. I'm sure we can make something work. But what we know of isn't that lucrative from what we can understand. But people do it, and people can do it. It can be done. So what I used to tell the kids I coach was, everything and everybody breaks. It's a matter of time and pressure. Just keep going, keep thinking, keep changing things up, and eventually you'll find your way in. That's still going at it.
Yeah, those are some good words. I like that because I mean, even going back to design school, I mean, I know from personal experience that I had my teacher say, hey, look, I'm gonna tell you now, this, like, the way our program was set up is like, it's not built for like real world experience. Like, this is more like conceptual work. There's like, we can't even guarantee you that you'll, like, it's not even set up for like real world like projects. So
Yeah.
like, I'm, as soon as I get out, I'm under assumption like, hey, I'm going to try to get a, design profession, and, right out of college, and that, that didn't work at all. And so I ended up going like the freelance route, and I ended up, doing some, little small gigs for different people. And then, like I said, it just grew from there. So now just, going back to be able to, talk to a lot of these kids, and like, now I'm like, hey, look, this is really what you need to be focusing on, or these are some things that you could do. If you love music or you love sports, there's avenues for that. Like, there's this different way, and no one told us that. Like, we had to learn like through the school of hard knocks, and then come back around and like, hey, this is how we do it. But
yeah, you're gonna learn those hard lessons. You're gonna use a couple times. Like, all right, I don't want to do that again. So how do I fix that? That. Do you find a lot of students are pursuing the creative aspect? Are they just looking to get into their own kind of just business venture period?
I see a lot of people, just wanting to get into into their own sort of little side hustle.
Yeah.
I see a lot of them not even, and at the same time too, the access to technology is different too. So like I'm going to these digital art schools out here, and they've got tools that that like college kids would be working with. Like they already have it in high school, and they're doing all this. They're doing like all these sort of real world projects. Um, they're already sort of by the time they get done, there are. I mean, they could go to college, but a lot of them like, hey, look, we've got enough in our portfolio or enough projects to be like, okay, I can just do my own thing. I mean, like the access to technology is just different from what
It's,
what we had.
I'll never forget trying to learn Photoshop, and I hated it. But I
Yeah,
knew you could do this all this cool stuff. I loved Illustrator. I was able to figure that out. But I'm a hands-on pencil paper artist at my core.
yeah,
Sketching, drawing, figure drawing. Like, that's my go-to. So trying to relearn, and with Photoshop, there's 1,000 different ways to do the same thing. And my buddy was pretty good at it. He was building websites. I couldn't figure it out, and he broke out this tablet one day, and it was like that eureka moment. Like, oh, that's how I can get in. I can just draw and whatever. But this is, I mean, it was rudimentary, this tablet, and it was rough to use. But I have one now that I use on all my projects. It's a huge help. But yeah, the
mm,
access to technology and information is a big one. I think it's interesting. Like, there were the trade crafts growing up that everybody pursued. And it looks like I might have froze a little bit, but now we're kind of going back into that other avenue where through this access to information, you can kind of pursue your own craft now, your own trade. And
yeah,
if you're able to do that, it's not just go to college, find a job, and work it out. Now it's like, no, you could do it on your own. So I'm interested to see where that goes. When coupled now with AI coming in, um, really kind of interested to see what happens in the next 10 to 15 years when it comes to that.
yeah. It's I and I had this discussion with actually another jujitsu practitioner that teaches art classes, and he felt like it just with him personally, he said it just feels like it supplements the sort of the skill that you already have.
Was that your
Now,
last episode?
yes, yeah,
Yeah, that was a good one, man. I checked
yeah.
that one out. True
So
though.
yeah, it's yeah, one of those where you either got people that and I've seen them before. They have no kind of design sense, no illustration, but they can go in there and like, hey, let's create do a text prompt, create a picture.
Yeah.
He said with stuff like that, he's like, honestly, I think it's gonna be actually opposite to where it's going to be more valuable for a lot of the creators that can actually produce certain things. And he said he feels like it's going to be more valuable to them as far as like pitching a maybe pitching a project or things like that. Because I mean it's just to where it's like, hey, you can either do something that yes anyone can go in there, text prompt, make an image, or you can get that person and their style and how they do things. I think once people start to learn how to package that and sell that, sell the ideal of, hey, this is you get me, um,
Yeah.
instead of like, hey, you get this product, then I think it reverses the way people value different things, especially in the creative field.
That's always, I don't know to me, I feel like it's always been a challenge with the creative profession where it's, market drives value, right?
Mhm.
So if people either don't know what really goes into making the art, like, the old, I'm going to butcher it, but the story about the Nike logo or, the Citibank logo with, where it's like, it took me 5 minutes to draw out a napkin, but it took me 35 years to be able to do that. And just same thing with wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and any kind of martial art. There's endless hours invested out of sight, out of mind, just honing your own craft by yourself. And it's it doesn't just come naturally. Some people are certainly gifted with certain, athleticism, things like that. But when it comes down to really understanding the nuance of whatever art form you're working in, it time and effort, but with the AI stuff, I think it like highlights. I think it's an awesome tool. I use it all the time. It's great to conceptualize. Like I said, I work with a very limited time frame. So anything that I can do to optimize the time and effort, and I'm not just burning energy, being stubborn, trying to think of it myself. I can just grease that wheel and get it moving, and I can just start, you know, uh, chomping them out. It's certainly helpful, but in the end, you can't just rely on it for the output, because anybody with the right amount of words can figure out something similar. But I worry that what it's what it does is it kind of highlights the brutal truth of what people perceive as value in the market. If someone's able to do something by hand, all on their own, conceptualize it by themselves, and somebody can make a prompt, maybe it's just parallel thinking or different ideas, but the prompt can generate something both equal, less, or, whatever kind of value. And then the market's going to say what it wants, regardless of how, I don't want to say fair, but, how truthful it is in terms of like effort and stuff like that. So that kind of drives back to the brand strategy and the positioning. You've got to be able to carve out an area where you're the go-to, be undeniable that it's you or nothing, or it's you or second best. And if you can do that, it doesn't matter what's going to happen because people want to work with you. But it's the AI thing, it's interesting. I'm curious, I'm optimistic. You definitely see some people in the space who are really, really using it like this powerhouse, which is great to see. A little scary, but it's really cool to see what happens with it. That episode when you guys were chatting about that, I was like, I could be sitting down with these guys talking right now because it's exactly how I feel.
Yeah. And we chat all the time. I actually he actually helps me out. Quick shout out to my buddy Travis, but he's usually inviting me to like all these schools to, hey, talk to these classes, these different art classes, digital media classes. So he usually gives me access to, be able to talk to a lot of these kids. And and I get some interesting insights from them. A lot of them, I mean, definitely a lot of them are amazing creators. But I think just getting that business sense. I mean, because a lot of them want to do their own thing. They don't want to have to go to school. They're like, hey, look, I can just learn some of this stuff, as far as just online, and pack that in with the skill sets that I already have. But a lot of them do have, like it could be like mindset stuff. What we just talked about, like how do you become the the go-to person, and then you get to dictate the pricing to clients. So,
or even just, like a lot of people will get requests for proposals or requests for quotes. And, I listen to a few different authors on different podcasts. Some people are, down to play the RP game. Some people will just say, no, we don't do them. And that type of confidence, it's big. If you're okay with not doing it, and without getting too deep into that rabbit hole, like that mentality, that mindset, that's something where I always had it in wrestling. Yeah, like I was very good when I started. I went 2 or 3 years not winning a match. I started playing like sophomore in high school, and by senior year I was took third in the league, but it was rough, man. There were a lot of days where you lay there questioning, like, should I keep doing this? Should I? And then it's like, well, to me, it wasn't about winning. It was about confidence in myself, being able to build that, being able to hold your own and defend yourself, take care of yourself, which is really what drove me. I just want to get better at something. Same with pursuing art, but you just want to get better at it, regardless of what it was. But look, I learned after getting beat up for so long, I learned how to defend really well. And then after I could learn how to defend, I had some time to like, all right, well now what do I do when I'm not just getting beat up on? Well, now let's start attacking a little bit. Another thing I would tell the kids is especially when you get, do you work with a lot of new athletes? Like what level of experience do you typically work with?
With what again?
What kind of like level of experience with athletes do you work with? Is it the whole?
Oh yeah. I work with when I'm coaching, I usually work with like especially in my adult wrestling class. I mean, a lot of them. There's a group of them that like they've never wrestled ever before. And then I work with then I go up to I work with junior college kids, and then I'll work with like pro MMA fighters. So it's like sort of that beginning all the way through, and just trying to figure out ways of connecting the dots depending on what level.
Yeah, that the new guys, like when I was coaching high school and middle school, everything looks easy, and masters of their craft make it look easy. But it's that endless hours going to make it look that easy. So they'd always be trying to, whether it's single leg, high crotch, outside single, I was always big on throws, laterals, headlocks, near arm far legs. They get frustrated when they can't get it. Well, look, man, you're not going to. You just got to accept that at first. As long as you can start seeing those opportunities and you can start identifying, okay, maybe that was when I should have gone, or maybe now. And then you start trying for it and you start giving it a shot, and you're not going to get it still, but eventually you're going to almost get it. And you're going to kind of get it, and you get it once, and you get it again, and you just keep at it. Before you know it, you're making it your own. And that was like, I had a coach in high school who was super influential, whether he realized it or not. Like, this dude was just a monster. Like, you couldn't do anything to him. And it was just like, and he was giggling, laughing, and saying the whole time, with just like added insult to injury. Like, how do you, and, eventually it's like, but he was really good at teaching, and he would just break it down to you. And, when I graduated, I was like, I want to be that. I want to be the coach that, I wanted to have all the time. And that's kind of how I try to build my coaching style. But people get so wrapped up in that, like, I've got to get it, or I got to get it right. Or just have fun with it, man. Like, figure it out and you'll get it. But you just gotta, you gotta take your lumps. It's just part of the game.
Yeah, I feel like athletes don't want to do that anymore. Like, they want to get to the end. They don't want to bypass everything. Let's get to the end right now. Yeah, I think that it used to be more, I guess, reverence for like, hey, this is the process that I need to get to, or working with coaches like, hey, I'm right here, being willing to put in the work and the effort to get to a certain point, and and even if you do, reach your goals or don't reach your goals, knowing that, hey, look, at least I put forth the effort and time in order to make this happen. And I feel like kids don't want that anymore. They see social media, they see all these kids, doing all this amazing stuff. I'm like, I want to do that like right now. Like, I'm actually having that discussion with a few of the actually with my adult wrestling class. Oddly enough, they tend to be the hardest ones. And we're working on some setups, and there's like, well, how do you do this? And not to say I enjoy questions, but I was like, well, none of the stuff that you're trying to do doesn't work until we have break position. Like, none of this stuff works. I just need you to stay in your position and stance. I just need you to stay in that for a couple of minutes. Let's just do that, then let's work from there.
Yeah. That's, but tying that back to business, it's position, right? If you're the first one there, if you got the advantage, use it. And being able to position yourself well, know your competition, or at least read them. I would have, people asking, I coached the grappling program at a MMA franchise for a few years. And, so I'd have adults in there too, all different. We'd have pro fighters, amateur, adults, kids, teenagers. But they're like, oh, I want to do this and that. I'm like, you got to get the fundamentals down first. And that's where, even with brand building, like, there's fundamental. There's things that are never going to change. And when push comes to shove and things get really hard, because they're going to, you always go back to the fundamentals. When I worked at this MMA school, there, 2 other teachers were kickboxers when they were professionals. And it was like Kyokushin karate too, which is just like a brutality I didn't know existed in karate, where it's just no joke, no bar, just punches and kicks, stomach, head, gut. It was brutal. He said it big. They were like 6'4", 200 plus. But, the guy when they were teaching me wrestling, striking was always like, just stick to your fundamentals. You get it? Because same way I learned wrestling during school of hard knocks was the same way I learned, what I know striking was getting hit a lot. And it was just keep your hands up, keep your elbows tight, keep moving, keep your head low. And it's just when you're in trouble, you stick to the fundamentals and you'll figure it out. But you have that solid base. If you don't have that, same thing in business and brand. If you don't have it, it doesn't matter what you're trying to build. If you don't have a strong foundation, it's just in a ballpark.
Yeah, that's the truth. That is the truth. Yeah, it's the adults tend to be. It's so weird because I told myself I'm not coaching kids. I like coaching college kids. But I find like doing the adult wrestling class, like you have to get past years of resistance or years of like, you know, being willing. I think for a lot of them being open enough to say, I want to learn something new.
Yeah.
Some of them, they want to sort of do their own thing. And I keep telling them that, look, you're gonna have to be willing to sort of open up and say, you know what, I'm gonna be willing to learn something new, and then perhaps sort of add that into your skill set. But yeah, I think just getting through that resistance, that initial resistance, and even the ones that's been wrestling and maybe they stop, because I will get a lot of them that especially been around the Oceanside area. They wrestled in high school and then something happens, they end up going to the military. So we end up getting a lot of Marines.
Yeah.
And so a lot of them come in with obviously, the stuff they deal with the military, and then coming in with like, hey, you know, this is what my coach showed me, while I wrestled like 2 years of high school.
Yeah.
So getting through all that resistance to say, okay, look, that's good, but let's see if we can add in something. Let's be open enough to say, hey, look, let's try something. If it works for you, that's great. If it doesn't, then we'll keep adding some new things. But yeah, I think just being open enough to say, you know what, I'm willing to learn. And I think for me, even as a creator, it's helped me out with my even training and doing, trying, doing jujitsu and trying all these different things. Or even just being just being a dad and a granddad, it's forced me to really be creative in all kinds of situations. Like, how do I make this work? I know sometimes it's not the ideal situation. How can we make this, how can we make this work or make this most effective, or at least find a great solution for something?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that creativity, I feel like it's, the more I engage in the brand profession and even in, professional endeavors, I feel like the, language is big, and being able to not assume what somebody's saying just because the words you're hearing, it's a big thing. And, you hear creative and people have these, they think they already know where you get to. It's not at all. And that's, when I was coaching, one of the things I would tell the kids, like, be creative with what you're doing. It doesn't need to go from, it's not this linear progression to a takedown or a pin. It's the journey of how you get there. And really, it's a story that you're kind of telling. So if you're able to, work your setups however you like to wrestle, some people are offensive, defensive, counter, whatever it is. Look, if people know the book, they know if this happens, then one of these other options happens, right? So if he's in on a single, I'm going to overhook, I'm going to drop my hip, I'm going to try to sprawl. And then I have these few different things I can do. I could work into throws, I could work into a reversal or whatnot. If I do that, you could try to go under. But if you can go against the grain and you can be distinctive and you can be undeniable and you can do things different where people aren't prepared for it, you've got that advantage. So be creative, be unconventional. And there's no thing that people say you have to do it this way. And it kind of takes the pressure off, whereas, okay, let me just have fun with it. And I would always be surprised with what the guys could, end up making happen when they just kind of let the stress go, let the rules go. Granted, you wrestle clean, but there's no one way to do it.
Yeah, that's the truth. It's I think sometimes I know I've found myself ever changing as a coach. shout out to all the coaches, you included. It's a hard gig.
It is.
I don't,
It is.
I don't think people. It's amazing because it's one of those to where like, even people feel like, well, a certain wrestler or athlete, they were able to accomplish all these great things, win world championships, and they feel like that should automatically transfer as a coach. And I was like, no, you'd be surprised like how many like top level wrestlers or grapplers or just athletes are not the best coaches at all. And it's one of those where you really have to have that sort of that creativity and learning how to work with people and knowing where people are at, because everyone has different skill sets, different mindsets. How do you connect the dots for everyone?
Yeah. Yeah, that's certainly 100% accurate. Seeing the effort that goes into coaching, like I thought I knew what I was getting into, but the guy I worked with, he was a powerhouse, and honestly, he was very astute to developing a brand, whether he realized it or not. But he built this momentum. The school I went to high school with and ended up coaching at had this powerhouse program in the late 80s, early 90s, like just a monstrosity of a roster. And then it went through decades, just nothing, just nothing. And when I wrestled there, we had 8 guys on the team. We lost every match when we showed up just because we didn't have enough people. It was not a big confidence builder, but you learn, and so when I came back around and I saw what they were trying to do, he was building this brand in the district for the program. And it turned into this whole thing where it's just now like 1 out of every 5 students was arrested. By the time I left, we had a roster of 30 some odd guys in the school, but the graduating classes were 90.
Wow.
It was like, it worked this stuff out, but it was the amount of time and effort and just, I'm going to say thankless hours, because I don't think anybody, unless you're on that staff, understand how much effort goes into phone calls in the morning, make trickets or practice. Like for the coaches who really, are in it, it's a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of time, a lot of, time away from your families, holiday season, traveling, early morning, late nights. But, what you can take away from it is fantastic if you do it right.
Yeah.
How did you get into wrestling from just school or?
Yeah. I'd always, I'd been wrestling since, competitively. I'd started like, when I was a kid, going through middle school, and, I was fortunate to where our program was pretty stable. I'm originally from Tennessee, and, so our program was, really stable, going through middle school and high school, and, did well in high school, and then, wrestled in college. But it's always, and actually our program now, especially in Tennessee, it's golly, they're like the defending 7-time state champs now. But at the same time, they actually developed their own brand, and that was something like my coach when I was there didn't do. He was sort of old school.
Yeah.
Now they're really big on like, how do we create this, this personality, this brand for this team, and it's. And it's across the board. So they've got their middle school teams, club teams. They got 2, they just started a middle school girls team. They got a high school girls team. They're, that's, the girls team like ranked in the country.
Awesome.
The men's is, they are, shooting for 8 straight title. But it was one of those where they decided to create this, this overall brand and vision for like the program, and middle school club team, like everyone's on board, and it's sort of amazing to see. And I think with coaches, I think I think a lot of them are starting to realize that now, and I find myself like getting myself connected with some of these coaches, especially when they're doing branding or design work, because like they see, okay, when they see a program succeeding and doing all these things, like then they say like, okay, I want to do this. Like, how do I brand our program, and knowing like how do we get the word out with supporters and community and growing the team, and because it's like I said, I think just going in there and coaching technique, like that's just, especially as a coach, that's just one facet. I mean, like you're a
Yeah.
CEO. Like, how do you get all the all the people involved to make it happen?
Yeah, it was, I mean, and there's so many different things that go into like coaching a program and building a program, not just like, the persona of the staff, but like, they've got to be committed. If they're not committed, it's just like a CEO or a COO. Like, if they're not in it, it trickles down. Like, people get it. But yeah, that building a brand and like, okay, how do you do that? Like and then realizing the parallels to business where it's really, they're interchangeable. You're building
And it,
brand awareness, you're building loyalty, you're building a purpose or why or, reason for people to commit and sacrifice for, whether it's going for team titles, individual titles. Because I mean, I know for a couple of years, I was just the wrestling partner for the guy who's going to county, the guys who would go to leagues or like there wasn't anything in it for me other than what I could take away from those roles, so knowing what role you play at any given time, but like what's your why, what's your purpose, where are you going with this, what's your vision, those are the brand fundamentals that I coach any of the people I work with. And like vision, mission, purpose, values, and, philosophies. And basically it's like your big why. What's the big picture at the end? Like what's audaciously a pursuit that you'll probably never fulfill, but you're always going to go for it, and then like the tactics on the day to day, like what guides your decisions as you move forward. Like if you get all those things together, and you've got your basic fundamentals to build a brand or business program, whatever it may be, but you got to stick to it. And that alignment and that discipline that I think is just driven home in athletics. But, I got a soft spot for wrestling and jiu-jitsu, and there's just wrestling's the greatest sport in the world. There's nothing like it. So
yeah,
for those late nights or those early mornings, like for me, I'm up in New York. So like when that cold air hits your lungs and you're out there by yourself on the road, yeah, love it. But it's super hard to get out that door sometimes.
I bet. Yeah, it's those days. Oh, it's something else. Actually, I just got back yesterday. We was I was helping coach with our junior college team, and we just got back off the road like 2 o'clock this morning. And so we was we was like in Fresno City, and it was like a 5 hour trip going up there. And we got back, but yeah, just like I I think just competing and coaching, like I just never thought, and even moving out here, I told myself like I didn't even plan on coaching again.
Yeah.
And surely enough, like getting on, you know, driving on the road and middle of the night, and I'm talking to the head coach, while we're driving down. I was like, wow, like it just sticks with you. Especially the coaching, it won't let you go.
Nope.
And
No, I mean, I still talk to my old athletes, and it's a really cool thing to be able to now as they're professional adults pursuing their own careers, getting invited to weddings and get together, catching up on lunch and stuff, where it's like you build a bond with people that, um, I think bonds that are forged in those wrestling rooms are very unique. You go through a lot of ups and downs, and whether, you're all doing your own thing also, but yeah, there's something special about that undercurrent that permeates the sport. There's just something special about that connection.
Yeah. So now I asked my guest this question: creative tips. What are some creative tips or a tip or tips that you can provide our audience?
Yeah. So we can take this one a little abstract, but it's one I get you. So one is from a figure drawing professor I had, and it was draw what you see, not what you think you see. And that's a big challenge that I find a lot with, creative students or even, athletes, where you think you have the idea figured out in the end, but you're missing what's right in front of you. So just surrender to it, trust it, and just let your ego go and just draw what you see and not what you think you see. And the second one I got is about, what mentality is a big challenge both as professional and as an athlete. the guy I coached with for years, big New York Italian personality. Anything you can think of, like that dude was it. And it was a gift to get to work with him. So, but when kids get down and having a hard day, you walk around and you just be like, can't be woe is me. You got to be me as well. And this puff in your chest and putting your head back and standing up straight, no matter how hard of a day you're having. Like you gotta shift that perspective. And those two things, I find myself repeating internally a lot, on different days for different reasons. But those probably be the two tips: draw what you see, not what you think you see, and don't be woe is me.
I like that. Yeah, there's some big personalities. It's
Yes, it is.
Well, and then another question. We're going back really quick to to comic books, and I love comic books and sci-fi, so I'm always like posing different questions. And this one is, if you were able to go back right now, if you were able to go back to your younger self right now, what would you tell them?
Yeah, that's a good one too. I honestly, it would just be trust your gut and believe in yourself. Like, no matter what, like if you think it's going to work out, do it, and do it well, because as you get older and as you progress in life, your responsibilities, your strengths become that much more. So take risks while you can, trust your gut. Do your thing.
Yeah, I like that. And then just some words of wisdom, before we sign off, some words of wisdom that that would resonate with someone's hearts and spirits.
Look, if you're like similar to stuff I tell myself, if you're passionate about it, you believe in it, do it. And don't be afraid to stand up for what they is the right habit, regardless of what competition may appear. You never know. But no, I think if you're in it and you believe in yourself, and in the end, that's all you got. So if you're not supporting you, there's bigger issues. So do you figure it out and just put your head down, gut it out.
I like that.
So I gotta ask, what's your go-to comic? Like, what's your
Oh wow, go right now. I've been tied up on the X-Men. They just relaunched the X-Men series.
yeah?
So I've been reading those, but I find myself trying to find more indie
Okay.
titles recently. So I've been trying to go the indie route and sort of find some new comics. I mean, especially with this podcast, like I get, I always bring on some different comic book creators, and so one I just started reading. He's actually a indie comic creator, but he gave me some comics of his called Lotting. So it's sort of based out in San Diego, and it's like a sort of like a gritty crime thriller with a superhero twist.
Okay.
So and I can always send the link to you for that. But yeah, it's a pretty cool read. I think he's 4 issues in right now, but yeah. So I've been trying to read some of the maybe some of the indie stuff right now. But if I went with like big companies right now, X-Men, and then everyone's been telling me about the Absolute Batman from DC. So I was like, I'm gonna have to check that out. So everyone's loving that one right now.
Yeah, the X-Men Pro line back in like 2019.
Oh, that was my favorite.
Man, what a cool take,
Yeah.
like, what a cool premise. And I don't give any spoilers, but yeah, it was a pretty cool twist. I think it was like issue 7 or something when they first did House of X, Powers of X or something. But
Yeah.
that was refreshing to read.
Yeah. I mean, I loved it from a design standpoint, because it really brought out like the overall design and branding, and I mean, just different elements that that they created for that book. And I mean, creating their own like little language, and just the way they did the design and layouts for a lot of the books and titles. I mean, that was like a master class on like what comic book publishers, even the indie creators, like what they need to be doing. Like, how do you design and brand this this package? I mean, it was masterclass.
It was crazy the amount of the depth that went into that. Where I was reading like I got tired thinking of how much more I had to read. Like those little like analysis layouts where it can like
Yeah.
broke down like man, they're going like this whole world was being created. It's phenomenal. Um, but that's actually part of where I remember the Thanos line years ago, and he's fighting somewhere, and he goes to this place called the God Quarry. I was like, that's a really cool name. And I was thinking about like the name for the business. I was like about going down to the truths, digging down at what makes people, and being able to mine truths. So, kind of that truth part, which doubles as also like what I'm wrestling. Yep, you go in there, there's your faith with truth, whether you want to or not. You're gonna learn a whole bunch of new thinking about yourself, and you gotta mine it out, make the best you can. But yeah, that excellent mind was awesome.
Yeah. I still go back to that. I'll look at that and I'm like, wow. I was like, just the depth of what they were trying to do, and even like, I've always been an Apocalypse fan.
Yeah,
But I was really like, oh,
it,
this is like my favorite character. Once I read that storyline, I'm like, man, this is. Like how they, turned his character around. It was like that was great.
and the illustration, I think, Pepe Larraz.
Oh
Like,
yeah, that's my favorite artist. That's one of my favorite artists now. I'm
gosh,
like, wow, this is.
like the ink washes and stuff. I was like, it's so cool to see like the old school line art, which always has a soft spot in my heart. Like I said, Ghibli, Mark Bagley, Rob by people. But now seeing where you have like this evolution of people come up, study those artists, and now just adding their own spin to where it's like this, the pencil marks and the lines and the ink washes, like I said, where it's just mixed media, digital. Like what a cool, I never thought I'd see that in Roma. Really see how those things can evolve.
Oh yeah. I'll look online because usually he's put up he's usually posting up some process work, and
Yeah.
for certain, and I was like, what program are they using? I've been working, and I've been working on I've got my iPad Pro, so a lot of times I do my digital illustration work on there, but I've been using Clip Studio Paint for a lot of my line art,
Okay.
and then I'll pull it over to Photoshop because it actually works pretty seamlessly with Photoshop. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I was like, what brushes are they using for that? So I'll sit
Yeah.
there and try to mimic certain stuff. But yeah, it's amazing. His style of artwork. Obviously, I'm sort of based. I've always been a big Jim Lee fan, and so a lot of my style personally has been like really heavily influenced with Jim Lee. And then I've started to loosen it up a little bit more, but mine's still heavily on that realistic comic book style artwork. But as soon as I saw his artwork, I was like, that's like, I want to do that.
Yeah, it was really cool to see. Have you messed around with Adobe Fresco? I think it was.
Yeah, a little bit. I actually like that personally. For me, I actually like that better than Procreate.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've messed around with both of them, and I like Adobe Fresco. Personally, for me, I like Adobe Fresco a little bit more.
Yeah,
Um,
like the water brushes and stuff. Those such a
yeah,
cool evolution program. I bought Procreate. I've yet to have the time to sit down and learn a new program. Like just thinking about it is it's exhausting. But I've
yeah,
seen some awesome stuff done with it, so I'm really tempted.
yeah, yeah. I look online, I was like, wait a minute, how are they doing this? And they'll be using Procreate or different things. I'm like, I got to just sit down and just learn. And usually I try my best because it's so many new programs coming up. Especially, I'm on the Adobe Creative Suite, and they come out with new betas for everything. So I'm like, okay, how do I'll download their I think they got a new one called I think it's Neo or something like that, where
Okay.
you can create little 3D assets now, and then you can export it out as like vector files or just as a PNG file.
I think
Um,
I've seen something about that. Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. I've been playing around with it. It's pretty neat. Once
It's
you start to
yeah.
figure it out.
And there's stuff they're doing now. I mean, it's such a cool like going from raster to vector to the generative film and things like that, where it's like
Yeah.
it's awesome. It's
Yep.
such a help. Yes.
Yeah, it's wild. So before we sign off,
Yeah,
how can people reach out to you about the Truth Quarry,
sure.
and everything else you guys want to?
So I'm on LinkedIn a lot. Find me on there, Ian McEwen. You go to the Truth Quarry's page on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram at the Truth Quarry. Can't say I necessarily update that as much as I should, but I got things in the works that I got to sit putting up there. But no, a lot of my I call it thought leadership stuff, but I drop a lot of my perspectives and points of view on LinkedIn, the professional marketing. And I've got a website that is up right now. It's a standing landing page that so stick around for that. That'll be a big update. But yeah, LinkedIn, Instagram, both those spots. You see me talk about brand strategy and blending it with wrestling. It's out.
That's great. So thank you for jumping on. Thank you for sharing your story, Ian. Once again, hey, there's different ways of supporting this show. You can go to www.buymeacoffee.com, and for the price of a cup of coffee, you can support this episode with Ian as well as future episodes. So if help to keep the show running, yeah, that's we're sharing the creative journey. So if you're if you want to support, or you want to actually, if you want to actually promote your business on this show, we do offer advertising packages as well. But just on that quick shout out, and then special shout outs to the sponsors for this show. The Breakfast Mug, that's here in actually two locations, one in Oceanside, California, the other in Carlsbad, California. And they've been a great partner with the Creative Brew, and they have some awesome breakfast. And then we got Baba Coffee, smuggling good bobs and good coffee, based in the Carlsbad, California area. And yeah, been another great sponsor. So if I'm not doing virtual episodes, I'm usually there at Baba Coffee, talking with different creators and tasting coffee. So they also have music and food on every weekend, starting on Friday around 6 o'clock. So you can check everything out on Instagram at Baba Coffee. And then we got Elevate Coffee Trading, based in the Dallas, Texas area, and they're extracting hope with every cup of coffee. Many of their proceeds go to helping coffee producing countries like Guatemala and areas of need in the Dallas, Texas area. So you can follow their mission and their journey at Elevate Coffee Trading. And then the last one, we have Elements Coffee, that's based in the Houston, Texas area. And they're producing organic Colombian coffee. They just opened up their new retail shop that's in the Houston, Texas area. So if you're a coffee lover and you want to support small businesses, go by there and check it out. So you can check them out at elementscoffee.com for more information. So that's what I got. Thank you, Ian, for coming on to the show. And hopefully, like I said, I think I plan on bring you back for another episode. I think some more stuff I want to chat about.
I hope we can do it again.
And yeah, we might do a little round table. I might bring on some of my comic book creator friends, and yeah, we might do a little round table with some things. So for everyone, hey, this has been me. This has been Ian. Be creative, stay inspired. Called to hold me up, told them loot the sample up. We gotta come together now, cause I had enough. The time is now, there'll never be another one. It's a second lap.